Greetings from the far side of the galaxy. I'm Fury, your host Most, talking about Housamo again because there needs to be something to upload for this week's video. Blah blah blah, yada yada yada, there's an entire rest of this video I need to get to doing, so let's just get to it. Considering we have not just one new guy, but two new guys for this event, let's just start with them, the first of which being Housamo's first horse, Clashian. Getting into his in-game lore, he's from the world of Tir Nanog, which is broadly based on European mythology. Per his research file, in his homeworld, Clashian used to live at the bottom of a lake, yet anyone who saw him when he surfaced thought he was terrifying. I'm genuinely not sure why, he's literally just a regular ass horse guy, but whatever. And this desire for companionship manifested as a sacred artifact in Tokyo, a brittle with the power to enchain anything it targets, a mirror to how he used to drag people under in his home world. In Tokyo, he no longer has to kidnap people on account of him just being like a regular fucking guy there, like yeah sure he's a horse, but that's just another day in Tokyo. Although he's still a womanizer who frequently makes excuses to get out of school to schmooze it up with women. Although his experiences back home have left him with a damaged sense of relationships, which is why he dislikes Belphegor, since that demon is all about marriage. To move on to his real world lore, Clashian is based on a goblin of the same name from Manx folklore. Fun fact Fury learned while making this video, things from the Isle of Man are apparently called Manx in origin. The way the myth worked is evidently pretty similar to what Housamo says. He primarily went after women and tried to drown them in lakes and stuff. There's not exactly much more to the myth that is relevant to Housamo from what I see. The closest I get is one version recounting Clashian as a benevolent creature that helped with farm work, explaining why he goes to an agricultural academy. Since we're done with that guy, we might as well move on to the other guy who dropped this event, and I'm not gonna lie. Clashian kind of bored me, and this guy did too, until I paid closer attention to the next character we have, Aiapin. Aiapin is a transient from the world of Olympus, but currently spends his days in Roppongi, not only going to school there, but also working as a performer in Hakumen's casino. He has a very provocative nature, which causes a certain someone from his school's disciplinary committee to keep a close eye on him, even if Aiapin never actually crosses that line. His sacred artifact is a pan flute, unsurprisingly, which is said to be able to do something. The research file is intentionally vague and weird about it, stating that it can induce panic. This can either be in the mind or body, so I suppose it's able to throw your thoughts into a frenzy or make your body freak out, hyperventilate, racing heart, and all that jazz. Unsurprisingly, he's based on Aiapin, who might or might not be the same as Pan, the satyr god you all know and love, assuming you like mythology as much as me as a kid. Pan is a satyr, a half-goat, half-man, and also known as the Greek god of many things, such as shepherds, the wild, and sex. These inspirations are made evident through Aiapin's goat-like appearance, but also his provocative personality. Even associations with fertility and spring show up through the flowers on his 4-star art, but also his New Year's outfit, which has sakura flowers on it. Normally, I would move on, but I have to hit you with the Billy Mays clip.
But wait, there's more!
Because Aiapin isn't just Aiapin, he's a lot like Zurong or maybe Daikoku. Remember how Zurong wasn't just Zurong? How yeah, there was the Chinese god of fire Zurong, but he was also the color out of space? Something similar is going on with Aiapin, where yes, he is the goat from Olympus, but he's also Shub-Niggurath from the world of the Old One. You see, Shub-Niggurath would normally be an exception, but thanks to being united with Aiapin, they're able to slip through into Tokyo. However, their unbelievable power still remains, so they mostly use their Pan identity to stay on the down low, you know? This explains the weird nature of his sacred artifact, since it can go beyond Pan's flute into the powers of Shub-Niggurath to create followers. Unsurprisingly, Shub-Niggurath is based on the Lovecraftian deity of the same name, Shub-Niggurath. Often called the Black Goat of 1,000 Young, Shub-Niggurath is the wife of Yog-Sothoth, so he and Shiro should get to kissing. Though Shub-Niggurath was known to mate with more than just her supposed husband. Her kids vary by writer and source, with some potential children being Cthulhu and Sathogua to name a few. There's also this, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce, which is a form of rebirth where favored worshippers are reborn into animalish, often satyr-like forms. Keep in mind, a lot of what I say here varies by author. What we call Lovecraftian is usually stuff created by a group of writers, not just Lovecraft himself, like August Derleth is the one I can think of off the top of my head. He's the guy who made Cthulhu, if you're wondering. A lot of the notes about Shub-Niggurath get referenced in the greater lore of Aiapin, such as his ability to transform people by bestowing his blessing. Shub-Niggurath's fecundity even seems evocative of Aiapin's provocative nature. I'm not sure if it's also the case in game, but the young of Shub-Nigrath do supposedly resemble trees, which would help further explain Aiapin's links to nature. Aiapin is another case of Housamo actually doing a really good job of incorporating different myths into one character within their own rule system, which is always fun to learn about. Real quick, do remember to like and subscribe and check out my Ko-fi and Patreon links in the description. The next Housamo character we have is Agyo. Are you able to guess this video's theme yet? Agyo is a member of the Summoners, in the same way Avatar was a movie people watched and enjoyed, which is to say, like, yeah, but also not really. He's from the Land of Wa, which is based on ancient Japan. I also want to add this tangent because I see the two conflated all the time, but the Land of Wa is distinct from Takamagahara. The Land of Wa is based on Japan, while Takamagahara is based on Shinto mythology. The exact line differentiating the two isn't super clear, but I tend to think of it like this. If they're based on real people, books, or folklore, so characters like Yoritomo, Shina, and Gorozaimon, they're from the Land of Wa. And if they're based on Shinto mythology, like Amaterasu, Inaba, and Inari, then they are from Takamagahara. That stupid tangent aside, I genuinely don't have much to say about Agyo. I mean, just look at his research files. They're fucking tiny. I think every other character in this video has longer files than Agyo combined. His backstory is being a shrine guardian whose grandfather died, and thus he came to Tokyo. Getting into his real-world myths, Agyo is what's called a Koma Inu, or lion dog. Usually, statues of them reside outside of Shinto shrines and things of that nature to ward off evil. In fact, we learn his grandfather's name in his research file, Angyo. That and Agyo actually refer to the two kinds of Koma Inu statues you can find. Angyo is closed mouth and Agyo is open mouth, explaining Agyo's default sprite. The research file just straight up makes a connection for us, creating a link between Shinto purity rituals and Agyo's knack for cleaning. Honestly, the most interesting revelation I came across doesn't even really relate to Agyo at all, but more of the difference between the Land of Wa and Takamagahara. Namely, that one of the main ways the two are separated is whether or not the character in question is a cultural import. Despite Koma Inu's clear link to Shinto mythology, they are actually an import from Korea who in turn got them from China. The same could be said of the 7 lucky gods, like Benten and Daikoku, since their origins aren't strictly Shinto, likely being imported from China who got them from India. So that's neat. The next character we have will be a dragon who holds a special place in my heart for being the first wood type 5-star I got, thus completing my support list. Quing Long. Quing Long is from the world of Penglai, the one based on Chinese mythology. The Order of Penglai is one of rebirth, where the world would be destroyed but another would also be born. For example, Nuwa would ravage the land with her sacred artifact and then mend it in short order. Per his research file, Quing Long had issues with this. As such, he turned away his title of Azure Dragon to try and find a new way. Even if it somehow contradicts the Taoist teachings of Wu Wei, it still fits within the framework since the new path he's taking is still a new path. In Tokyo, he still acts as a guardian dragon, although not on such a grand scale, since he is a guidance counselor for the unruly delinquents at Umamichi Academy. And he is genuinely very good and dedicated to his job, which comes into stark contrast with his home life, which is basically a riff on Satogawa, where he's sloppy, lazy, and messy. His sacred artifact are his horns, which allow him to redirect his ki into others, bolstering them. His research file also notes that while he and Tianzun may have stark differences, they do mutually respect each other. Quing Long is based on the Azure Dragon of the East, one of the 4 auspicious beasts that guard the 4 cardinal directions. There's honestly not much for me to get into here since, well, the Azure Dragon doesn't have much to get into to begin with. Despite it being a popular symbol, even its Wikipedia page is short as hell, and a lot of the other information is extraneous and not really relevant to Quing Long and Housamo. But you know what is relevant to Quing Long and Housamo? This little bastard right here, Amanojaku. Amanojaku is a transient from the Land of Wa, and while the research file doesn't tell us much about what happened back home, it does make it clear that the first thing that happened to him when he arrived in Tokyo is getting arrested. You see, he is also like Zurong and a few others, and that his sacred artifact can activate on its own, which is a pretty big problem. His artifact is like Shinji's Bankai from Bleach, and I'm gonna try and say it off memory. Hapushima Yokoshima Hapu Fusugari. Oh wow, that was really close. It is Sakashima Yokoshima Hapu Fusugari. Anyways, it has the power to invert the nature of not only Amanojaku, but also other people, so good becomes bad, so on and so forth, causing everyone caught in its effect to do general mayhem. That's why he stays with Quing Long. Since he's an infinite dragon, he's unaffected by Amanojaku's sacred artifact. This is pretty similar to the idea of Amanojaku from the myths, that being a demonic oni who brings out the worst in people. The exact inspirations for its existence isn't well known. I was able to find various accounts from Japanese mythology about Ame no Wakihiko, Amano Sugume, and Amanojaku who might have evolved into the idea of Amanojaku. I've heard that in his event, Oriko Hime is featured in it, which relates back to a mildly grim folktale about Amanojaku, but I haven't gone through the event to actually check it out for myself. Amanojaku in Housamo is a pretty good XP of Amanojaku in the myths, although they made his bad influence more unintentional than his real-life counterpart. There's not really much more for me to say here, so to fill out time, you know that one cat from Ghost Stories? The funny one, the one who says,
Run! She's a ghost and a bitch!
That's also Amanojaku, just wanted to point that out. I am tempted to include Zerong in this video, but he doesn't really fit with this video's theme, and that is a whole can of worms I don't want to get into now. So I suppose this is where the video ends. So let's do our Patreon shoutouts. We have Zora Chow, Choran, Daniel Faye, McQuades, and Wolfrix, the Duskbloods. Thank you for watching, do be sure to like and subscribe. As always, this is your host Fury, signing out.